Okay. It's working okay? Or have I broken it? No, there you go. Morning, Dota. Morning, Deflux. How's things? Cool. Okay. I gotta get myself sorted out. It's funny, you take a few days off doing this, and it does become more difficult to get back into it for certain. Like in my everything I was doing, I didn't make real notes on because I was kind of in flux. So yeah, and then Restream bot wouldn't work again today because why would that be useful? Okay. So the goal of, I suppose, this week is going to be getting a SQL Server job running. That is a non-started SQL Server. Hey, Phil Shamwell, how you doing? That we can invoke to run jobs. It is a concept within Kubernetes, the job we learned last week, and you can just kind of, it'll spool up and run and then shut down afterwards. So the goal will be to create a Docker container, or create a container, not a Docker container necessarily, create a container that has all the scripts for deployment. And then as we need it, we invoke the job to initialize the scripts, given a connection string, and yeah. So that's kind of the goal. Now, the reason being, we kind of want this to take all these scripts, we don't want Docker scripts in there. That would be bad. Kind of want, let's see, attachments, copy. No, nothing such as database. This new KVM switch is amazing. Nice. I mean, you paid enough money for it. It should be good. For KVM, it's not bad. Did it come with the cables, or did you? Yeah. Are you switching between that many computers? So we want to copy tenant management to now. What's the difference between that and that? Now, work the scripts. It's work and personal. Okay. I mean, because I use my work MacBook and my personal computer, and I have a wireless keyboard and mouse. Now the downside is I have to switch between inputs, right, on the monitors. But with a KVM, that's kind of handled for you. But I don't want an entry point. That's the problem. Nice. Yeah, some good advantages to a real KVM. So does that create a container? Fail to deploy, no command specified. Scripts, Docker file, unknown Docker file, fail to deploy. So now is that um it's interesting they want to do that. Let's see what happens. Writing image. We're gonna end up with a bunch of images, aren't we? Created. Yeah. Ram Geek, good afternoon. How you doing? That's the last attempt on this. So what I'm trying to do is learn how to create a Docker container, a container that will I'd write it with a WinForms.net framework in it. Nice. Nice. I didn't know it had a designer in there. So what I'm trying to do is build a container that copies all these scripts into it, and that that would get deployed with the application and run as a job so that it wasn't always running. But when I needed it to, I'd have the scripts available and I could say, hey, invoke this job with this database connection, pass in the database connection so that I can manage different users, different databases, and run the scripts. That's the goal. Yeah, Rider on. I mean, Visual Studio on a slow computer is hardly stunning as well. I mean, they do that much these days that you have to trim down all the tooling, and Rider is a lot of tooling. Rider is much faster in general. It's all good. Mr. Jones, good afternoon. We derail regular. We joined non-meat breakfast this morning. Huh, Deflex? Let's turn off all the tooling. I mean, can return to a much simpler time. Right. Let's see. Being a rider supporter is not equivalent to being a vegan. Hey, if you like Visual Studio, you can stick with Visual Studio. No criticism. I mean, it's not that much to learn. I mean, um, so for reference, Deflex is saying that rider users are like vegans, where they let everyone know they're vegan. Is the stereotype. So people who use rider let everyone know they use rider. Just in case that was unclear in any way, shape, or form. Oh, only recent. That's only a recent addition, right? So they finally realized that VS Code and stuff were viable. Um, wasn't Delta the color of the names. Once you pass like 1,000 views on Rider, you start thinking about getting an exercise bike from Amazon and putting it in your basement. Hey, if you want to stick with Visual Studio, I'll stick with Visual Studio. No criticism. It's I can tell you it's a very different experience opening Liquid Sky in Visual Studio versus opening in Rider though. Um, but again, it doesn't matter. Whatever you're most effective with is what matters, right? If you're comfortable with Visual Studio, you know your way around it, you know all the tooling, then that's great. You can say that JetBrains and ReSharper had a massive impact on the tooling in Visual Studio because Visual Studio has been playing catch up for years on that tooling. That's been around since the early 2000s overall. And yeah, Rider just optimized ReSharper around IntelliJ. But it's really evolved nicely and it's evolved quickly, whereas Visual Studio has kind of stuck on its thing for years. And it is slower, but it does a lot more. It's a lot heavier. Um, that's why they spool off different versions of the IntelliJ IDE and put different branding on it, because then they can just focus on the thing it does, which I have no issue with. And it still costs me one quarter every year what it would do for a Visual Studio subscription. And yeah, with Visual Studio, subscription, I'm getting access to $50 a month in Azure credit, and I'm getting uh, operating system images or operating system licenses. But I don't need them that frequently. Yeah, I've been a subscriber for 3 years, and I pay 170 a year. About that, 170, I think, um, for everything, which is more than affordable considering. And yeah, you can use Visual Studio um, Community. Well, don't forget, up until last month, Rider wasn't free. But I also use all the tooling. I use Data Grip, I use WebStorm, I use PHP Storm. Um, so it's, yeah. And I was using ReSharper anyway in Visual Studio. Yeah, you can always get you've always been able to access the early access program. That's been around. They just made it more obvious. Um, so if I don't do an entry point, what happens? Okay. Now what can I do with this? Um, delete container. That's okay. So how do you do? How do you accept the EULA and stuff in a Docker file? That's weird. Um, Docker container, SQL Server, set EULA. I don't do Docker run. Right, I get the environment variable, but how do I do in a Docker file? Okay. And accept EULA. There you go. Let's try that. So what's wasteful here is this is running a full-on database server. So you can't, from what we saw last week, you can't just get the SQL tools. So if you go to opt CMS SQL tools 18 bin, so SQL command here is what we're really afterwards. After. Um, so the idea is that we create a job out of a SQL server, and that job we can then invoke and pass in a command, and that command would be the directory. We'd pass in the connection string because the different database connection strings for different parts of the system. So as these other parts are coming up, right, as we add the app modules, as we do tenant management, the idea would be that we say, okay, well, now we need to create the SQL server, run the job, and pass in the credentials for this particular database. And that will run the scripts that are in here, and it would run through these on the database given, right? We do an init still, so we have the admin user, but then we'd see this adds the actual admin, but we'd actually ultimately be able to change the users and stuff. So each database would have different credentials. That would be the goal. So what I'm trying to do here, yeah, everything's containerized. Um, but either way, the idea of this is that it would run as a job, as we found out last week. K8S job. He'll let me do that. I kind of need to do that piece. So what we found last week was this is not an uncommon thing to do. You don't get that image though anymore. So this Docker file will copy all these scripts onto this image, right? We then can also run the jobs as MS SQL tools. Make sure I follow. So this image does not exist anymore, is the problem. So they don't actually publish a separate image, what we saw last week. Sorry for keeping my windows like this. It's because so many of these screens go bright white, and the 2 years ago. That says it still exists, doesn't it? Let's have a look. That wouldn't need that. Does this exist still? What we saw last week, this hasn't been updated in a long time. There we go. Okay, so that does work. Okay. So the goal is to be able to run that, giving it a connection string. Therefore, if I choose to create different containers for the different databases just to test that out, I can do that. I don't have to mess around with this isn't going to connect to the data. I'm not going to copy the credentials in there. Now the challenge is that that copy didn't run, did it? Oh, because that's that, isn't it? That's that. Well, the runner should have. Working desk scripts. Let's do view star. Let's do that. There we go. Failed to resolve. Cannot copy. Ah. Why would view not? Why would view trip it up? Nice. Okay. Ah. A directory called star. Stop. Yeah, that's a pretty useful tool. So this may seem this may seem wasteful, but it is a useful tool. If I can get this working, that way I can deploy the scripts, and then depending on I can create different jobs for different pieces, and then when it spools up, we can configure Pulumi to say, hey, now run these jobs and stuff for the first time, so it initializes the database properly. So no matter which way I take, I've got to figure out how to effectively deploy. Doing it this way gives me the control over, because I can just provide a name and something and then run the scripts because I do have them available to me. The only downside is the database name is not configured right now, so we'd have to potentially change that, but it does create the database with that name, so it's not beyond reasonable. Yeah, no matter which way I do it, I've got to Docker plus MSC, how to launch SQL pod during build. So that's what I'm trying to do. So what I'm trying to do is ultimately we'll go to Pulumi and create a job for this, and that job will um pardon me um what I'm thinking is uh take the Docker file, build the image locally and deploy that image there, so I don't have to do that as a GitHub action, and then that image can be used as a job to do everything else. Hey, tricky lady, weekend was okay, too short. How about you? So yeah, this is not going to be simple. Why did that not? This image, yeah, that's what I just. That's that one, right? MS SQL tools, yeah. So that will allow us to do that now. Yeah, so what you can do is, no, it won't show the tools. I have no idea what the gate there is. I'm like geek. Um, so what we learned was, where are you? Oh, to want to understand what Pulumi and K8S is, can I find it in just SQL classes? No, this is about many different technologies all at once. That's the challenge with why this is taking me so long on a stream. Yeah. So IaC is infrastructure as code. Pulumi is a tool to deploy things. Kubernetes is a containerization platform to allow me to create, uh, run applications uh, on a virtual machine. No, Pulumi can use Python. You can use different languages for Pulumi. Pulumi is a framework for kind of um, coding out the structure for Kubernetes and other platforms. So it's just like, hey, I want to be able to say, um, like, build all these things, and here's how to pull this data in and configure it, and yeah, it's a whole lot of things playing at once. Yeah, so actually, that's more I'm doing. So here, um, I just don't want to do this. I want to do this when I run the job, sort of thing. Um, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Pass. Um, me. We can specify the image. It's not a cron job. I guess you could just put entry point at the end and run the shell script. Yeah, that would be. Yeah. Default command from that container will run, right? Yes, I believe so. So, okay, challenge number 1. Why does that? Why did that fail? Oh, because that is not that. That's that. That's that. Let's just test that. Oh, well, this time. Okay. Okay, that worked. Okay. So, okay, let's quit that. Delete the container. I'm trying to make sure I don't leave a load of stuff lying around. Okay. Oh. Didn't think through that one, did I? Whoops. Well, I guess I get to test my Kafka rebuild. Um, so that will copy. Actually, that does give me a chance to test something. So what I can do here is if I bring the SQL Server up, I don't know if I don't know if it'll remember the scripts. Open terminal. Let's see. Let's see if it brings the database, but that's fine. Dot services up SQL Server. Let's see if it brings Liquor Sky SQL back. Let's connect to Data Grip. Okay, that's still working. Yeah. Come on. It's still building. So actually doing recovery. There you go. Okay. That's weird. It was like it was doing a recovery. Either way. Okay. So if we were to do um execute K8S job pass arguments. So we need to be able to invoke a job. Invoke. Sorry. So we use kubectl for that. So there'll be a way. This is what I was thinking about for the script, right? There's the job, right? And then we have the args. Create secret generic passed in args from literal arg. Oh, but you want the command to just drop it in the shell, don't you? What does the shell script do? I'm not sure now. I'm kind of doubting myself. So, thank you for the alert, tricky lady. I appreciate it. So this is a template of a job. So, which isn't impossible. So instead of being a Docker file here, yeah, but I want the image. I want the content. That's the problem. I want these scripts to live in this image. However, that would mean creating the image. So many things I want to do. Okay. Um, so I want this to create image with script directories. Then I want to build a job and so that would be which scripts to run connection string credentials. So from a Pulumi perspective, what we'd end up with is somewhere in here we'd end up with a job a jobs thing, and that would we'd have to build a local image. Um, I don't want to do. I don't want to do. This would be. So the job would look something like this, right? Where this image would be my created image of scripts. So this Docker file would have to run, build the image, push that image, and then I could check it out in the job. And then the job would just have the arguments it needs. And the reason why you build the job on the fly is because you would want to specify different connection strings. Because again, I don't want to necessarily have, like in this instance, I want everything in one database. But if I want to split those databases out, I want to be able to run the scripts. And if I move away from SQL Server and go to Postgre, which is likely, um, the entry point runs before the command, not after. I didn't realize that. Yeah. So I don't think I need to. Yeah. Um, yeah, that runs a console app, and the script runs whatever we pass in. Hold on, that's not the actual script I want though. Executing the job with the bash script. Yeah, that's just executing this. So that's not running anything. Can only be one entry point. Well, entry point makes sense. Command, I'm not. Well, command, yeah, you can send you can send a script in there, but this isn't. What if we could just make that SQL command? If I can make that CMD opt MS SQL tools bin. So if I don't have runner.sh, let's remove runner.sh for right this second. And then this is not going to work very well. Those would have to be arguments. Well, in the Pulumi version, I'd have this if so. To get my head in the right order of which piece needs which piece, I'm struggling with. Basically, these would be like some arguments. Use password. I know these aren't commands. I'm just, and then D. We don't need D. We don't need that, but we do need then script of some form. Entry point or command? This example, it runs the script. Is this I don't? But that one. There you go. This one. This is more appropriate. Command args. But I want this to be parameterized. So in the Pulumi world, this would be parameterizable. Oh, okay. But the intent is, yeah. So the intent, no, this is wrong. So the intent is, what I do is I have right in here we take args for let me sudo this out. So um past SQL connection username password and action attachments tenant management loop through the scripts followed by the numbering, execute using opt that. So this will do that piece. Oh, what the hell? Yeah, something like that. Except this is going to be that. By virtue of them being in the right order, it'll run them anyway. So that's kind of the idea. That's why run.sh. So that would be command. Lines in any of that shell script. Yeah. Yeah. So just got to figure that part out. So let's do this. Let's do directory testing. Let's do file 001 000 db.sql. Testing. Off to work. Dota, thank you very much. Appreciate it, as always. Take care. Have a great day at work. And I will share any progress in Discord on this one, if I make any. Okay, so that's that. Let's comment all that out. Let's copy testing to testing. Now, the problem is this is the image. Passing arguments to image to. Oh, hold on. Okay, hold on. Entry point. Run.sh. Copy. Actually, let's do this. So whenever you see this, this is from the context directory, which is the build context, which in this case is where the Docker file is located. So that's the build. Where you run it from is a build context. So I'm going to build it relative to this. So everything is relative to that path. And it'll copy it to wherever your word there is. So then this would be init runner.sh. Let's see. And then we would take, let's do this. How do you pass args to us? Bash scripting is not easy. That's the problem for me. I don't want to go through all this. And would it be $1? Or dollar number. Do case $1. So let's do this. Let's do, is it echo? Okay, so let's do that. Now let's, we don't want to run it. We want to build it. So open terminal. I want to build it so I can then run it and pass the arguments in. Docker build -t tbd develop / ls initialize. Okay, so that's built an image, right? ls initialize. Okay, so then we want to do, let's see, docker run pass args. Looks like someone figured this out already. Docker run test hello world. Okay, so docker run tbd develop ls initialize. Afternoon. There's a game with very similar Nick. I was doing some development work the other night. Hey, Sully, how you doing? Test DB connection friendly. There you go. Okay. So that runs the image and passes the arguments in there. And that should have ended, right? No. It just, yeah, the container ends straight away. Which, if we're running it as a job, is going to be okay because it's going to deal with that. Just about to head out for lunchtime walk to get some daylight. Me, I'm not too bad. Not too bad. Trying to muddle my way through a bunch of technologies at once. It's always fun. Okay, so that gives me that gives me some insights. So with the Docker file set that way, copy that in. The entry point is init / runner.sh. So we'll call this when we initialize the container. And that will then take the arguments, run, and finish. There's nothing constantly running. So what we'll do is we'll try and see if we can get testing to initialize. So in here, let's say one is directory. Oh, this does, okay. Bash scripting is just, I suppose once once it like settles in, it's fine, but BR2 start unsupported flags. So we need, at the very minimum, we need a SQL connection, username, password, and yeah. Come on, how you doing? I don't think that's... See, this is okay, but I don't want to just execute the SQL command through the job container. I want to pass arguments into the job, so I want to run the job off a custom image so that all the scripts are contained in that image. So the job is great, but I want to pass these arguments in. So named arguments to bash script. That was fun. Eh. Methods to pass. Use loop in case. Using the get ops. Under command line options and arguments, using get ops name of a parameter can be defined. Using the get opt command. Right. Name, age, gender. But that's not the example. Oh, here you go. Use this one. So this one's longer, but it's. Oh, no, I wanted to do that. I moved to PowerShell. It makes it a little bit easier. Yeah, but I'm running a bash script in a container, right? So, yeah, it's its own challenge. Okay, us. Makes me feel, ugh. So we got connection, username, password, group. So connection, username, password, category, deployment, testing, planning items, blah blah blah. Okay, so connection, username, password. So that just, okay. So it just groups them into ones and twos. Deployment. So then we're going to do echo. Now, are those dollar sign variables? Or why do they not? Should not. Let's just build that out and then. Let's do this. Docker build. Docker run. So is that literally just then connection and stuff? I doubt that. Connection, testing, connection, username, Bob, password, Charlie, deployment. Okay. It didn't work, but why didn't that work? Yeah. Yeah, it's only going to be used as a Docker image. So I'm building an image with a SQL command because it looks like SQL Tools has been updated in the last 6 months. We're going to try it that way anyway. We're going to loop through the scripts in that directory. So this deployment, this image is going to create an image with all the scripts in it. Then I'll create a SQL. I'll create a job in Kubernetes in the um, Pulumi side and run that, giving it the credentials that it needs. Is the goal so far. That way, I don't have to create all the databases every single time because I can then control which database I actually connect to. You might want to pass in the password through environment variables. Passing it through arguments will cause your password delete since there is no secure way to pass it to the config. Yeah. Come on. Enjoy the walk, Sally. Thank you very much for stopping by. I don't think I have a lot command, but thank you. So, so yeah, I see the point, Mr. Ranholm. I'm not going to panic about that right this second because this is again local deployment. Um, I'm not sure that ultimately this would be done this way. I'm just making it sure that I can bring this up and have it run, and keep dropping it and rebuilding it while I'm developing. So yeah, I see the point for certain. Interestingly, that didn't work though, did it? It took the username but then took the password as testing and completely missed Charlie dash dash deployment. So the reason I'm doing this is to try and just allow myself to kickstart the process, right? Um, hey, one line, how you doing? Um, I want to be able to tear everything down and rebuild everything, and this is the way of doing that. So this is probably not something I would do in the long term, and it's only good the first time, right? Because everything else after try putting equals equals. Huh. It's like it ignores it. Keeping busy and trying to get CSS to work. Surprise, surprise. You think it's that causing the problem? Um, everything's to be determined. Is that doing that? No, they're not supposed to be M's. Image gender dash dash. Okay, so it doesn't need the equals. That's fine. Don't try, you can never fail. Exactly. Action, username, password, deployment. Oh, it is my image. So again, what I'm trying to do here is create an image based off the SQL tools that copies all the scripts in here, and then I can invoke this as a job on the other side. So as we expand out the components, this can be used to take all the images, all the scripts, and then just execute the scripts against the database I provide it. This way I don't have to worry about them being the same database, and if I start to change the database technology, I don't have to worry about them all being created on the same database server. So the independent components will be set to invoke this job. So this isn't a long-term goal, but it's something that is worth learning from. So why is that? Connection, username, password, deployment. Dash dash connection, dash dash. I assume this is taking that. It's Bob, and then the password, it completely skips past. Ah, thank you. Copy paste error. Thank you. Oh, because now. There you go. Okay, that's better. Thank you. So, what is going on? Over the last 2.5 weeks, I've been trying to build out the deployment for Liquid Sky. So, Liquid Sky has got to the point where it's useful enough that I would like to be able to use it. But I don't want to use it locally. I wanted to be able to deploy it. I'm not going to mess around with cloud deployment. So, Kubernetes. So, we're going to play with Pulumi to get the deployment done. So, this is we're building out things with Pulumi. We've got the Kafka system working. We've got the SQL server started. We've got the client side started, the gateway, and things like that started. And we're now working on the first API piece. Hello, Loki. Is it that time already? Hello, buddy. Hello, my friend. Hello. You gonna say hi? You gonna say hello? Yeah. What's the matter, bud? Yeah. Hello. This is Loki. He thinks he's climbing up on me right now. He's actually trying his best to get up onto me. Buddy, you're going to hurt yourself. Hello. Almost as good as Kato. Come on then. Come on. Hello. You at least say hi. Come on. Yeah, I get it. Okay. We're going to talk. Okay, bud? Hello. Okay. 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 We're having hugs? Okay, bud. Good boy. Okay, you got to lie down. Okay. You completely just faffed that arm up, by the way. So, don't worry, there's not a single person that actually understands Docker. I mean, again, if it was my job, I would have a stronger understanding of all this. But so ultimately, don't you dare eat the prescription. Um, oi, oi, no, I'm not eating paper. You did not get up on my desk to start eating paper. Um, so the goal is to deploy um, this to uh, copying and pasting just got me in trouble. So we have the client working, we have Kafka working, we have a SQL server started. We've got the API gateway. No, the API gateway needs configuration. And what I'm trying to build right now is this tenant management piece. Um, just do copy. Well, yeah, you can if you, in this instance, I want specific folders. So I'm going to have to name them one by one, but yeah. So the idea here is this creates an init folder. It puts the runner.sh from here into that folder. It then creates a scripts folder. And what I'm going to do is in this, I'm going to loop through and I'm going to run the SQL command. So I'm passing in this information right now. Again, this is going to be a temporary solution. This is just so if Mojo and I are working on this and want to deploy a fresh system to Kubernetes, it's literally just start it up and let it run, right? And everything will create itself, and a fresh system is created. Um, this can only be a temporary solution because it's useless once the system starts getting used. Um, yeah, so this can only be a temporary solution. Um, not saying it won't um, uh, influence future decisions, but it can only be a temporary solution because I'm just basically these are the initialization scripts of the databases. If we change the scripts, if we change the way things run, these don't get. I'm not using these as migrations. These are straight up create the thing. If these change, you have to wipe everything out anyway. Right now, so there's no migration story. But I'm doing this to practice this, right? I'm doing this to go through the effort of okay, now where are the actual pain points as we develop? What do we need to solve? Um, because sometimes you don't realize those things until you go live, right? You don't realize some of the things that are going to trip you up, and a lot of the lessons are uh, post deployment. So I'm a big fan of practicing, and this is the earliest we can practice because now the application is actually useful application that does allow us to create planning items. It does allow us to create the tasks. It does allow us to assign the tasks to a sprint and complete the sprint, so we can at least go through that effort. So the goal here is very much to essentially do this, where that is deployment. But if you want to sit on my lap, you've got to deal with the fact that I'm going to type. No, stop trying to stop my hand. Echo, execute an F. Will that work? Is the question. I doubt it. So first we build the image. Right. I shouldn't be creating. Yeah. That creating multiple images containers it is, yes. Okay, images, delete the images. Just trying to clean up. Glad you're happy there, bud. Your foot's caught in my pouch. I think I just rebuilt that. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so that doesn't work. Yeah. Your foot's in my pouch, buddy. So that doesn't, hold on, let's see. Uh, I think Docker is harder when the ID gives you a poorly generated file. I mean, considering it's meant to be a handcrafted thing, yeah. Well, would it be easier? You've got to learn all those things. You have to know what you're looking at to understand why it's wrong. And it doesn't, to be fair, Rider did not give me a poorly generated file. Oftentimes from when I was doing it in Visual Studio, the problem was the build context, not the actual file itself. It was where you were running it from that was the problem. And when Rider create, you can't be fussy, dog, if you want to lie there. When Rider created it, it didn't know that, right? It was trying to reference it was referencing a project that was outside of the build context, and I could never get it in the build context. So that was not really a problem. Yeah. But I don't think that's necessarily Rider's build. I've seen that style before. I'm not sure why it does it that way, where it copies the CS proj files and then copies all the files themselves. Unless that's just a catch-all, I don't know. But and don't forget, if you've got a Docker ignore in there, it's just making sure you've got the at least CS proj files. But yeah, I'm pretty sure Visual Studio did that, something like that to me as well. Because I don't know if the tool is Rider or .NET doing the Docker file. Um, I'm not debating that it was poorly generated, but I don't think it's necessarily the tools. You don't need a Docker file now. So you can actually you can tell it to build a container. So that's what we do with the images so far. We actually made it so that it actually builds um, the GitHub action just builds the image off of the CS proj. You can just do dash dash container equals default container or something like that. So you don't need to do a Docker file at all to build the image of the project. You okay there, dog? You can't be comfortable. Yeah, so you don't need a Docker file at all. This one I need a Docker file for because I can't, there's no publish in the world that's going to do this one. Okay, so let's do that. Password deployment. Okay, so it's case sensitive. Hold on. Let's see if that works. Can I access scripts testing directory? So let's go in here. because I made it a command. Hold on. What we're going to do is we're going to go back to containers, delete the 2 containers, delete the images. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back here, change the Docker file to not put the entry point on. Without the entry point on, now when I run this, it will actually just make it a container that's running. And then I can do terminal. And oh, did I create another script? cd scripts testing ls. Yeah, cd init ls cd. What are you looking at? He's actually resting his head on the arm of the microphone. Again, thank you for the follow. So that does do that. So if I do .runner, if I do deployment testing, cannot access script testing star.sql. Is C# for this year's Advent of Code? Hopefully I get comfortable enough with it by the time it starts. Yeah, I would imagine you will. C# is it's a much easier language to learn than it used to be. Structure. Much easier to pick up and run with. It's nice and fast, and there's plenty of resources out there. Okay, I'm going to be right back. I'm going to drop this dog off my lap and kick him outside. Yes, you're going to get kicked outside? Yep. Is that okay? Yeah. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Um, okay, let's see. So let's leave it like this for now. We can we test this by no, no, no tools on there. So we have to do deployment. So how do we do ls-v scripts testing star.sql? Oh, that works that way. Has anybody else done the Advent code? Have you attempted that before? I've heard mixed results. Most people kind of, yeah, it's not something I've thought to do. So this is a command works fine, but you can't put it in quotes. Does this mean, is there a disconnected from container? Let's stop that container. Go lay down, log. Is there like a, yeah, will that do a replacement? I know what I'm saying. Starting with around day 12 or 13 is taking too much time. It's cool concept, especially if you do it just for fun of it. It's kind of like, um, what am I thinking about? Kind of like coding characters on steroids, right? It gets increasingly harder. Yeah, stop around day 12 to 15 as well, just because I don't know the math required to trivially solve the problems. Yeah, I've never tried. Run. That actually create a container? Rate Hoover. Sorry. Okay, actually we don't need to do that, do we? We need to do, there's no I need to do this. I can actually run the image. You can't, there's no entry point. That's why that failed. Terminal. Okay, so now if we do cd init, do run.sh, and then deployment is testing. Interesting. That's, oh, that's quite interesting. That runs that all as, that runs that as a file, as a set of commands. No, it doesn't. What does that do? ls-v scripts testing star.sql. Oh, that's a very different behavior, doesn't it? I really wanted to be further along with this today. I mean, I've got a good understanding of what I'm trying to do. And again, this is not a long-term solution, right? This is an ability to deploy this, keep this style up so that we can deploy these components and redeploy the system when need be, and have it initialized. But everything else is it runs through the file. That's the weird thing. Doing it that way, it executes the file. I don't want it to execute the file. But you can't do ls minus v scripts testing star.sql. That works. That's what I want. I want that file name. ls minus v scripts testing star.sql. Oh, that's interesting. I wanted to read the actual file. I wanted to look through the scripts in the directory. What does -v do? Verbot? Natural sort of version, numbers within text. Which makes sense. Keep them in 0001 order. By the way, let's do. Well, that doesn't change anything. Star.sql. We're in the showers today. I'm not being. I'm just kind of unfocused. I appreciate the showers though online. Thank you. If you like C# content, by the way, a lot of people that online has called out do a lot of C# on stream. Emporium guy who's been learning Blazor. Tyndall is a C# expert and has built a lot of stuff on the stream. Mojo is also learning, going through a journey, and you're an expert. Cyforce has been building an app called Momentous, which is not a C# app, but is a fantastic app to look at. It's about setting goals and tracking things. And it's I'm never going to do it any good as a description, so it's worth checking out. Momentous. It should be releasing soon. I feel like an expert. Me neither. Daily thing. It's not going to. ls-v echo f. Oh, for file. I'm hoping to do a pretty major announcement soon. Hoping that here's to open. Nice. Yeah, here's to hoping. Init runner.sh dash deployment testing path not found. Oh, stop. So how does that? Not the way that worked. Delete. I love how there's this dangling container here. Let's run that again. cd init / runner deployment. Line 34, command not found. It wants to execute that, but that doesn't work. Bash get directory listing variable directory name. Print. I get that feeling just looking up magic and it makes no actual sense. This is why Pearl went away. Like, is that? That's not going to work. Right. I'm trying to be thorough on that, cleaning those up. Yeah, that didn't work because I can see it, or it didn't work. cd init / runner.sh deployment testing. Yeah. Stop. I'm trying to write an offer right now. It's not going at all. Ouch. Executable. No. So this doesn't work. Scripts. Deployment. Star.sql. That doesn't work. That's still an interesting. Oh, it did work. That works. There we go. There's our answer. Okay. So the idea is connection, username, password, input file. Okay, so what's the username and password? The username and password is going to be LSTM admin. Okay, so let's run this and the terminal, and then we do cd init, and we do .runner.sh, and then we want connection equals this isn't going to work. Hey, Nerdy Biker, how you doing? Username equals LSTM admin. Password equals that. Deployment is testing. Yeah, but did try. That is a good point, though. What's the way to get? What is it? Host.docker.internal. There we go. That's what I want. Host.docker.internal. Is it? I don't think it's 4436, is it? No, it's not. Why have we forgotten what SQL Server connects on? Four three three six. Thank you. What does that seem? 1433. Yeah, it's still not. Login time expired. Connection string is not valid. Docker file, runner.sh. Connection is a server. Username, password. It's not. Login failed. That's okay. Oh, because it's not that, is it? Not for this. This is SA. This I want to be SA. And then that password is a totally different password. SQL Server, Docker Compose. That is the password. There you go. So now we should have fresh testing. LS testing. There we go. There's proof of concept. Minimize DNS. Okay. Fair enough. Okay, so that's testing. Okay, so that in theory works, which is progress. So the way this is going to work, let me review once more. And again, remember this is not a long-term solution. This is not even a solution that is going to go beyond um, development, because it doesn't make sense to do this. But it is there because right now I'm not using migrations. I'm not messing around with migrations. I dislike using migrations, especially when I'm developing, because it's just all over the place and one little random script out of place and you end up with more of a mess. So for each of the components, a set of scripts is created, right? The idea is that this tool will allow us to create a job that if I deploy these to separate SQL servers, or I change out which, because right now everything's going to SQL Server. If I move to Postgre, I'm not going to move all of them at once. I'm going to do one or two here or there, which means that the servers that these are going to connect to are different, right? 1337 isn't officially reserved though. Huh. So this Docker file will create an image. It will put this runner script in there, and then it will run these files against that database, is the idea. That'd be an interesting one to see what happens. Copy view. I want to see what folder order that's going to come out in. That is called procrastination. All good. So go in here now. If you do ls minus v slash script slash view slash star. Okay. If we do star.sql, we only get the interesting one. So nested directories. It does come second though, in that order. So the only thing there would be, yeah, executing file. cd init. The prefix with the number. So they should run in the right order. I'm just trying to validate that the view folder will run after all the other folders, or it will get them. And I also need to change. Actually, I need to change that. That can't be that. Because it won't get the nested folder unless recurse does that do it. That escapes that funny, doesn't it? Because that behaves very differently. Let's try that. One more try. Okay, so that does that. CD init, runner.sh, deployment is views. Okay, so that does. Oh, that is in the wrong order. That reverses that order. That's not what I want. That did not find everything in SQL, so ls recursive. Minus R. I'm not sure I want to do that. Well, let's find out. So cd init / runner.sh. Deployment is view. Okay. So it did view first. And then did views. But it dropped the path from the second half. Which would mean that that wouldn't execute properly. Okay. But anyway, we're getting there. So the goal is this will be able to build an image out of this. This is unfortunately going to have to be a GitHub action to build the image. Hey, Zones. How you doing? From there, when the we're going to build a job inside of the Pulumi configuration to be able to execute this job and give it the database connection. That way, if we do have different connections, we know which pieces are going to have to execute, but then we have one image for the scripts. It's cool. I've always wanted to know how to better run DB migrations when not using something like EF Core. I don't know if this is better right now, but it's definitely an evolution. Now the challenge is with this, it runs. I don't know if I can keep this up from a migration perspective. Yeah, so this is hand rolled. Again, the challenge. The challenge would be maintaining this, right? That's the big issue. But the reason this is becoming an image is because I need this to be able to bring the system up for the first time. So if you're restarting the system from scratch, this is not necessary. This is going to be necessary right this second. So yeah, we'll have to see. We'll have to grow on this. This is an important step. But tomorrow, what I'll focus on is getting this image deployed. I'll figure this out today. Get the image deployed, then build a job out of it on the Pulumi side that we can invoke from tenant management and pass it the connection string we want. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. What am I building? Well, ultimately, I'm building the planning and project management application. So, and what I'm doing right this second is actually building the Kubernetes deployment of that application. The application is at a point where it is usable. It is we can create a planning item. We can kind of go through the steps of defining the actual requirements of that item, then generate the tasks of those requirements, and then build a sprint, and the sprint can have work dragged from ready for development through to progress, and then to completing a sprint. So the workflow is there to start dog fooding the application, basically. um, but yeah, the reason I'm focused on deployment right now is because the application is at a good point that if we can get it deployed to a Kubernetes cluster, which is a little bot sat behind me right now. I've been working on a project since March, been procrastinating a bit, and now close to completion, about 3 weeks out. Nice, congrats. Yeah, this project is I think October was the 1 year anniversary of this project, and I've focused a lot of time on it. I'll probably get a lot more time in the upcoming months in my spare time. Yeah, I don't know. Do have to check it out when it's up and running. Right now, it is it's down for maintenance, obviously, because of this. But yeah, the goal will be over the coming weeks to be able to let people log in and test it and see how they feel about it and see if there's any feedback. So, yeah, stick around. Once we get it up and running, I will let people jump in and give it a try in periods of time. I'm going to keep it under control because obviously I don't want to just open it up and then let everyone just have open public access to it because that that would be challenging, right? Um, no, no. I follow an even leaner method, which is I've spent the last 15 years of my career working in tools like this, building software. So I've used the fact that I've got a lot of experience of dealing with teams, dealing with product managers, dealing with users and customers, gathering feedback and stuff like that to base my opinions off of. Um, what I want to do is focus on the developer story, and that's not something that other products do either. So even if I talk to other users, the feedback I'm going to get is going to be based on tools like Jira and what Jira doesn't do for them that they want it to do for them. But I'm not trying to make Jira, I'm trying to make an application that tells the story and shows the progress to the right people at the right time. So from a developer's perspective, you focus on the work. From the product management perspective, you focus on the output, and you know, from the management perspective, you know what sort of speed the team is going at and different aspects like DevOps and QA if they're delayed or they've got backups, being able to see those things and not being able to just have to ask people all the time. Now, again, communication with other people is still critical. Um, but I want to make sure the communication is effective, and that's often what we lack. We lack effective communication. We talk, but we don't communicate. First, I've done a lot of lean. Now I just use a large amount of gut feeling to do what I think is right. Keep it simple and ship. People need to see, and feedback can be taken by observation rather than purely I want this because 99% don't want what they. That is true. That is very true. And a user's opinions of what they want is often shaded by what they use now. Um, they can't often go beyond what they use because they don't know what's possible, so they don't ask for things beyond what is there. But yeah, at the very worst, this product becomes a um, a lesson for me, for everyone watching it. You know, it becomes code that can be shared. Um, yeah, that's the way I want to be. So, but anyway, fortunately, I also don't understand how they encourage something like a month MVP shipped and get the users to see. Nothing I've ever built in actual production for users can be done in 30 days. The biggest problem with shipping too soon, I get the MVP thing. Morning, Napalm. I get the MVP thing. However, the biggest problem I see with that is oftentimes then the tail wags the horse. Is the I think is the correct analogy. The user demands can dictate because they just realize what they're missing, and that's a surefire way to create what you already have. Because people will be asking for things they are missing from the current product, and you've got to be strong enough to say, "Hey, look, no, this is the way you do this. This is the equivalent." So that's going to be the challenge. So as I open it up for people to play with and test, then the questions will be around: are you asking this because you see it elsewhere? Do you not see why this is providing the difference? And yeah, build on that. So, but anyway, I must go. I'm going to be a bit of a lazy raider, and I'm going to raid full bots because I like raiding full bots because he's friendly, his stream's quirky, and his game's awesome. And I would recommend checking him out. Don't forget, it is Monday. One line streams. So if you like .NET content, if you like more .NET content, please check out One Line. One Line develops his work apps on stream, and it's very interesting seeing someone's actual work. So I highly recommend that. Yeah, I must go. I have work in 10 minutes, so I will speak to everyone again tomorrow. If you are interested and you want to continue any conversations, please check out the Discord as well. See you again soon. Bye all.